what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, never accept less than who you are. Live your life, be strong and free. It's the Hit Back with the hash of black. It's the Hit Back with the hash of black. It's the Hit Back with the hash of black. It's the Hit Back with the hash of black.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the Hit Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. It is a beautiful day here in the 242. I hope that you are doing well, that you are taking care of yourself, that you are living your best life. It's been a busy day today. Of course, we've had the ceremony. Parliament is now reopened. And Parliament didn't just open, it opened at a different location today, which had its own share of controversy. The question of why Bahama, the question of why not Parliament itself. Now, the government had sought to answer that question with saying, hey, due to some sort of, there's some construction going on at Parliament right now, COVID protocols, they need to socially distance themselves. They thought it best to do it at Bahama. There was very much a lot of concern about the cost of this initiative, right? How much does it cost to do this today? Like, we are in a financial crunch, and we're talking about, this level of expense. What is the expense? What I do know is that former Speaker Halson Mutri had suggested this to the former administration, and it was to be at no cost. After he had sought to do it there, they were apparently going to Bahama was going to set it up for free. But I don't think that happened this lap. I think that there was a cost to it. The question is, how do you feel about it? Right now, we had the former prime minister, now opposition leader, Dr. Hubert Minnis, saying that it is unconstitutional, this move to have the Parliament in the House, and he was correct. The irony, though, is that for someone who sat in the House and stood up in the House and said there will be times when we will have to breach Bahamians' constitutional rights in this public health measure, I think that he should be the last one to be speaking about the Constitution. Pot calling kettle black is an understatement there. But nonetheless, he had an argument. He had a point. And so we saw then shown, of course, was a proclamation on the 4th, where the Governor General had actually stated that we would have the House of Assembly or the opening of Parliament at Bahama. So that was done legally through the process of the Governor General. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was a bit funny, ironic even. The former Prime Minister would speak about our constitutional rights when we can even argue, is the post office in Nassau proper, right? Is that supposed to be a constitutional thing, especially since it's the bank, our penny savings bank, our bank with the post office. Is it in Nassau proper? Isn't that where the main post office should be? But we digress. I thought that there was a controversy, and I realize folks are very upset with it with regard to the cost. Is this the way how we should be spending our money? And, I'm with you. What was the cost? I'd like to know the costing of it. But after knowing that the former speaker had suggested it, but it was, and I have to ask, and I'm happy to know that the former speaker, Halson Mutri, if you're just tuning in, will be joining us. It was a short ad to the show, so I'm excited to have him on. But knowing that he had suggested this to the former administration, and this one had decided to do it, perhaps it means that suggestion was a very good suggestion when it was presented. So therefore, I don't have that level of ire against it. But I understand why folks would be frustrated. Now, what got me, though, and was running a tad bit off schedule, but what got me was the amount of people at Bahama, the amount of people, when we're talking about COVID protocols, right? The amount of folk that happen to be there is what really got me. What really stuck me was that we had about, well, I like Guardian. Guardian said hundreds of people were there for this event. And, for an event where we said, well, we wanted to do this so as to mitigate, right? So as to mitigate. I have a question. I have a question. My question is, after seeing this now, though, will churches be able to open wholesale, right? Because this looked like a church service back in the day. This doesn't even look like a COVID church service. This just looks like a church service. We called one of these a super spreader event, right? Now everybody has on their mask. And what was said to us is that alleged, I don't know, I would think that is the case. Everyone was vaccinated. But ladies and gentlemen, we do know as a fact that there are breakthrough cases in vaccinated persons. Vaccinated people can be asymptomatic. There is a reason why. Now, is this the government stance on that we will now be living with COVID and that the Christian Council has just gotten an okay, that all of the companies that do weddings and funerals are now given the green light to do business, because this administration cannot be seen doing the same folly as the former. The former administration did this, rules for some, different rules for others. I would hope that I would not like to believe that the New Day government, our government, our prime minister, all of the people that I've grown fond of, would think that this crowd made good sense, unless there's no more COVID, right? Maybe we don't have COVID anymore. The numbers are going down, even though positivity rates are still high at 17%, even though we just added 17 more people to Monday's death toll and 6 more to today's death toll. This crowd is concerning. I would think that the government knows that this is not a good look, but they knew the amount of invited. They knew the level of invitees. And we still know that there are persons, and now mind you, at some point we're going to have to be like New Zealand, and we're going to have to be like Singapore. At some point, this thing will need to be considered an endemic and not a pandemic. We're going to have to figure out how to live with it. But ladies and gentlemen, we are not living with it. We are dying with it. Someone sent me a stat saying, well, cancer is killing more people. Cancer always killed more people. Heart attacks always killed more people. But what you weren't seeing was 34-year-olds dying of a flu-like type of a disease. So I'm not interested in that argument either. What I'm interested in is that we figure out how to restore this economy by getting COVID under control, where the head leads by example. I criticize the former administration for the same. This one will not get a pass. Okay, you call it New Day. New Day means new behavior. Now, mind you, can I just say, as a side note to all of this, I enjoyed the catwalk of this opening of Parliament. I can't remember. I know last Parliament, the styles were always glorious. Every time there's a Parliament opening, I mean, you see wonderful first ladies, and we had 7 females into the House of Assembly, and in particular, we have a female speaker, a female president of the Senate. We are living our best lives as sisters. Still very sad that Leslie Bryce has no cabinet post, and I think she's officially one of the few left on the backbench. We will see how well she does her job as a backbencher. But I gather, like all of the others who were out on the bench with the former administration, people will toe the party line. So we will see how this all goes. Big government, a lot of pageantry, differences. I know for sure. Well, I would hope for sure we won't be seeing, our prime minister, doing the island tours for the next 3 or 4 months, like the former one did, even though the cupboards were bare. But again, I digress. Eh? Okay. Don't want rain on the parade, you know? So they couldn't be tell people what they do after today. That's right. Well, we'll see what they do after today. Um, right? So we'll see. So we'll see. All right. Someone says, but New Zealanders don't want the level 4 to go down to level 3. They have concerns. Very true, Kenny. New Zealanders are fighting. Crazy, right? They like being captive. But we will see how this all goes, right? Um, I was very concerned. I mean, all I saw was look at the people, COVID. But I don't want to speak that on this crowd. I believe that they will be fine. Fingers crossed. All hope is present. All right. But I will tell you, the ladies looked great. Some folks' clothes was different. Yeah. Saw one gentleman show up in a long shirt and slippers. I like Bahamians, but this is something. But now, and we're going to discuss the speech from the throne. You'll remember the former prime minister's speech from the throne? The former prime minister, in his speech from the throne, offered us, the pot of gold with the rainbow and the leprechaun. I feel as if this administration offered us the pot of gold, the rainbow, the leprechaun, and the leprechaun's granddaddy. I feel like we were getting everything. We'll see. I don't like all them promises. Under promise, over deliver. But some of these promises were low hanging fruit. Low hanging fruit. Let's see how quickly they could give us all of these things. But we got a show for you. And we'll talk about some of that too. Also, we got former Speaker Halson Moultrie joining us at the top of the show. We will have, above all else, if you follow someone to Gregory says, even the 4-leaf clover, you ain't lie. Even the 4-leaf clover, we were offered in this proclamation. Romans say, we're the pot of gold. They always offering you something extra. I'll tell you that right now. So something, we have, above all else, if you follow the show, if you follow my show, you know, one of the things that is very important to me is that above all of this watching of politics, I tell you every day, if I am growing in my life, if my family is growing, if we are growing financially, if we are growing spiritually, it is incumbent on me to share with you as much as I can the tools for your success as we succeed. And because when I fail, I want to share those failures in terms of we learn from each other. And all of us watching government, my job is to watch them and inform you. Your job is when you get the tools of the information shared, you figure out how best to use that information to multiply your income, multiply your assets. Don't hold on to the dollar and put it in the bank and expect growth. Only work for purpose. That is my whole thing. I never work for a job. I work for purpose. The job led to the work. It's always a thing. It always has to be a purpose thing. So I want y'all to know that beyond anything else, right? Beyond anything else, I want y'all to know that your success is a priority to me. The fourth estate is to watch government. But at the same time, I tell you, I don't do this. I didn't have to do this job. I've been blessed with this job. God is so good. I don't knock it. I love it. God is good. But the one thing I always wanted to do was make sure that I was financially free. So we're going to do that too. We're back to Wealthy Wednesdays. It's very important to me that we talk money. We talk money because we're talking success. We got to talk success. And success isn't about if the PLP, the F&M, or anyone is in. It is about, are you in the mindset to succeed, to be successful? And every opportunity. So I can't wait. I got someone joining me, Miss Denise Johnson, Bahamian entrepreneur, a specialist, a consultant in hospitality. And why is she important? Because she has helped me to be successful in something called vacation rentals. She's helped me to figure out how to create experiences. If you ain't got a home, you can create an experience. And there's so many things to do. Someone says that proclamation was serious today. It was. When we come back, former Speaker Halson Moultrie, I want to get his take on the proceedings today. What was his suggestion, to with regard to Bahama, to the former administration? And what recommendations or advice would he give to the present speaker, if any, he wished to share? We got a lot to share with to talk about today. We will be back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM.
Girl, Junior just showed me Bella Boy in his phone.
What you mean? He take picture of that good for nothing boy?
Shh, you don't want Bella hair. You say that. You know she always says that's my good child.
So what he doing in Junior phone?
Oh, he there because the police looking for him. He on their wanted list.
Wanted persons in your phone now?
Yes, child. And when police want to find anybody quick, after something happen, they can send picture direct to your phone. Go to Google Play or App Store and search for Crack Crime Bahamas, then pick install and it will go straight to your phone.
There is also a section on missing persons.
Yes, girl. Everybody needs to get this app so police can tell us right away when these people go missing. Just like an alert system.
Yes, it has numbers for Crime Stoppers Bahamas, so you can call and nobody knows it's you. Call directly to Miami and give the information without giving your name or anything about you. I tried the other day, and when I hear Junior and his boys talking about where they hide those guns, I walk quick round the corner and call that number.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents are the best. Reliable service and been on the scene, protected since 1919. J.S. Johnson Insurance has the test. You'll always cover me. J.S. Johnson Insurance, peace of mind.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and they set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and love what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, never accept less than who you are. Live your best life.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I almost forgot where I was. Someone says if the F&M questioned what they did as much as they questioned the PLP, they would have a better government. You're right on that. Boy, it's easy to be opposition, eh? What a time. What a time. But we got joining us right now, a special guest joining the show, the one and only Mr. Halson Moutry. Mr. Moutry, welcome, former Speaker of the House of Assembly. How are you?
I'm just fine. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. It is the day, Speaker Moutry, former Speaker Moutry. I got to get used to it, eh? And what a difference 2 months make.
Just the 54th Speaker.
That's right. That's Mr. 54th. Right, 54th Speaker. We haven't spoken since before, I think, since the election, we haven't spoken. Of course, you ran as an independent candidate, no longer with the Free National Movement. And as with a lot of your former colleagues in the House of Assembly, you were not given that honor of a second term. But what we are looking at now is lessons learned, right? And as the former speaker, as the Speaker of the House in your tenure, let me ask you this. What was the number one lesson that you learned and in your duties as Speaker of the House?
I guess that would be that it is very, very difficult to transform a broken system when the persons who are required to change that system are the beneficiaries of the brokenness. And that was the major challenge with what I was advocating. I was advocating systemic changes because I felt that we were functioning in a way where the Parliament constitutional mandate was being undermined by the executive branch of the government. And I still feel that that is the case today. Some members in Parliament took it personal as opposed to looking at the system itself and seeing how best to make those changes. And based on what I've seen, this new government are doing from the very beginning is just a perpetuation of that broken system. And I believe that it will produce the same results. Systems produce results, not individual personalities, even though we focus a lot on individual personalities in the Bahamian political environment. At the end of the day, the system will produce the result. And the first arm of the government is the legislative arm of the government. And if the legislative arm cannot carry out its constitutional mandate to supervise, monitor, and hold the executive branch to account, then we will have a broken system where the executive branch is accountable to no one, and there will be no transparency, and corruption and plunder will continue to be the order of the day.
Corruption.
Now, when you look at the composition of the House today, you have 20 members who are ministers, and
22, I think. 22.
22, I think 2 of them are in the Senate.
Yes.
So if we count the House of Assembly, the elected members, you have 20 ministers and 7 parliamentary secretaries,
Yep.
which means the executive is making up 27 out of the 39 seats, which means, again, you're going to be faced with a circumstance that the former administration faced, where when they walk into Parliament as an executive, bound by the collective decision-making process, they have sufficient votes to outvote the opposition and the backbenchers combined. So they are answerable to nobody, no one. And that is what is being perpetuated. And I believe that as long as we continue that way, and I'm not surprised because I was really disappointed in the former Prime Minister. But the proteges of Sir Lyndon, I don't expect any difference because that is what they were trained. They grew up into that system in the PLP. Former Prime Minister Penlin introduced that Gussie May or supersized cabinet process. And the Bahamian people dismissed that process as just an attempt by the prime ministers to reward their people. But that's a superficial analysis. The more deeper analysis is, what does that do to the functioning of the 3 arms of government? And when you have a Gussie May or a supersized cabinet, the parliament becomes a rubber stamp of the executive branch. You can't even form the committees, which are the infrastructural development of the legislative branch. You cannot form committees without having executive members on the committees. And all they do.
But 54th Speaker House in Moultrie. How do we, because what you're saying, and I agreed with you when you said it, and I think it was the first speech where I agreed with you, was the one where you, after, of course, with the controversy with Glennis Hannah Martin, you and yourself and statements, and I think it was that vote of no confidence. I don't know if it came before or after, but it was during that time. You wrote, or you made a speech in the House, which was unusual, right? Which was unusual in that you mentioned that our executive and legislative have been blurred. And you mentioned that. You said something, it should be no more than 17 or 18, I think it was. How do we, though, stop that process? Because right now, as it stands, that lands in the hand of the Prime Minister. There are no systems to stop it. There is nothing that we know about that.
Well, the convention,
other
the
than
convention of the Westminster model, if we honor the conventions of the Westminster model, and the people hold the executive branch and the Prime Minister to account. For example, we inherited the system from the United Kingdom. In the House of Commons, which have 650 seats, you cannot get more than 17 to 18% of the House of Commons in the executive branch. They just won't tolerate it. So, but the people tolerate it because I'm not satisfied that we fully appreciate the damage that is doing to our nation.
No, we don't.
Because it is impossible for you to stop corruption when human beings are accountable to no one. That's the simple fact of life. That is why the Constitution was established with the three arms of government, where the heads of each arm are co-equal. The Prime Minister is not a super person beyond the Chief Justice and beyond the Speaker, but we have accepted that. And I tried to take the Bahamas through a process and through the Constitution to show the people that the Prime Minister could not get rid of the Speaker. Constitutionally, it was important, I think, even though I might have been a John the Baptist in the process.
Right.
It's important for the Bahamian people to understand that the Speaker authority in the Parliament supersedes that of the Prime Minister, who's head of the executive.
Let me ask you
They
something.
are policymakers, but the legislative branch of the government, which is the Parliament, what I call the lawmakers. We are the representatives of the entire country in the legislative branch,
Let me ask
and
you
we
something.
have an oversight
Thomas, we can move here.
constitutional function.
Let me ask you this, because of course, two questions that I want to get to before we, break and switch gears, right? One, how do you feel? I was speaking to persons from both sides after the election, and of course, this is folks from this side are not the former your former party are not too thrilled with me, right? But they still chat, we still chat up, and one of the things that was common is that there was this animosity towards you from both sides, both the PLP and FNM. And I wanted to ask you, one person asked me this, told me this when I was asking about, who would be the new speaker. And they said, listen, the former speaker was the worst speaker. This is what was said. And I heard this from both sides, was the worst speaker this country's ever had. And I paused because I thought you were the most profound in the work that you did. But how do you feel with that? Do you believe, have you heard that? Do you feel as if you're viewed as a troublesome or the worst? Where do you view yourself in the legacy of speakers in your tenure?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I was the only speaker in the history of the Bahamas who was a scientist before they became an attorney. And so I have some understanding of systems, and I have some understanding of the Constitution and the law. Now, if you look at if you take a superficial analysis of what I've been doing, you would arrive at that conclusion that perhaps Moultrie was the worst speaker. But if you look deeper into the analysis of what I was advocating, you would understand that the problems that we are facing in this country are not going to go away unless we take some of the initiatives that I've been advocating. Now, of course, the PLP didn't like in the beginning my way of doing business because they were in opposition and they were selling the narrative that the speaker was biased against them and they were taking certain liberties. And if I didn't cave in and allow them to have their way, then they would say that and indicate that that is the proof of that. But interestingly, when I decided to resign from the FNM and become an independent speaker, the PLP was the first on the podium championing the cause of the speaker and letting the government know that they cannot move the speaker. You see? So it was just pure politics. In the Free National Movement, they wanted me to fall in line and just do what the Prime Minister says. Because mostly that happens in the previous speakers. It's always been the tradition that the speaker just carry out the mandate of the majority party because he's a member of the majority party. But I have certain convictions, and no man is going to convince me to go against my convictions, especially when I know what he's trying to get me to do is not in the best interest of the people, and in some instance, not even the truth.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I love that answer, Speaker Moultrie, because I gotta get used to it. I really have to get it because we have a new speaker, 55th Speaker of the House of Assembly, and she is going to, we hope, follow in some big shoes and hopefully carry on some of what you've done. But hey, an executive is pretty strong. I don't know about that legislative and executive connection, but we will see. Former Speaker Moultrie, you'll be with us on the other side, because I want to ask you, though, what advice would you give? And even with Bahama being held, reopening at Bahama, your thoughts on that as well. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
Sugar, sugar, let's get sugary. Softer, smoother, and amazing skin. No, sugar, sugar, we're the sugar ladies, giving you skin soft as a baby's. Goodbye hair, we'll take good care of you.
Come visit us at Bahar Treat Spa on East Bay Street. Contact us at 323-6711 or visit us online at www.baharetreat.com.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Former Speaker, 54th Speaker of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, former Speaker Halson Moultrie Esquire, joining us on the show. Okay, Speaker Moultrie, there's a big controversy, of course, going on with the House being reopened at the Parliament being officially reopened at Bahama. And if I remember correctly, you had suggested such to the former administration. What were your thoughts? What was the process that should have happened, that did happen or didn't happen? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, as a result of the COVID-19 protocols, when it became apparent that we were in the first surge, I recommended that we should seek to have the Parliament relocated for a period of time. No one knew exactly how long we would have been under this pandemic. And so, understanding that that House of Assembly was built in 1815, and it is not suited to bring about the physical distancing of 6 feet. And we had to set up a situation where some members were not even allowed to attend or sit in the chambers once we reconstructed the chambers. Some members had to be downstairs in the majority or minority room until it was their time to speak. So I recommended that we take a hybrid, we do a resolution first of all, because Parliament has the power, the legislative branch has the power under Article 55 and Article 65 of the Constitution to regulate its own business and really to meet wherever. Once the Governor General is notified, the Governor General gives a proclamation under Article 65. The Parliament can meet anywhere. It could meet in Abaco, Grand Bahama, parts of New Providence, any other family island, right? So there's nothing unconstitutional about what happened today. Nothing. I don't know. Whoever suggested that needs to read the Constitution and needs to read
That's
the
the former
rules
prime
of,
minister said it was
yeah,
unconstitutional.
he needs to read the Constitution. Take it from me. If he's calling it unconstitutional, I think it's only to save face because he's not looking too good as a result of what happened today at Bahama, based on the fact that he absolutely refused to even consider the resolution or to have the parliament meet at Bahama. And Bahama was offering it gratis, free to the Bahamian people at no expense to the taxpayers when I approached Bahama early in the pandemic. It was not an issue. Bahama went to the point where they established and set up exactly what we saw today. They went and they set up how the parliament would look, how the 3 basic rooms would look. They gave us access to all of their equipment, all of their electronic equipment to do the parliamentary broadcast. They had a room set up for the Senate, a room set up for the House of Assembly, and a secretariat set up for the clerk of the parliament. And all of that would have been free. But the former prime minister decided, well, he have to prove to the speaker that he's in charge. That's the only conclusion that I can get from it, because it made no sense. And now, if he's saying it's unconstitutional, I'd like for him to find the provision in the Constitution that has been breached or violated today.
I think they said
Because
provision 65, and I have to find that for you because I thought it was interesting.
well, provision 65 gives the Governor General the right to reopen the Parliament at any specific location. Now, what the argument might have been if he had said the earlier proclamation when the House was dissolved, when he gave the proclamation to the Governor General, said that the Parliament will reconvene on the 6th of October in downtown Nassau. And Bahama is not considered in downtown, but the Governor General released a second proclamation on the 4th of October, which gave reasons why he was allowing the Parliament to meet in a location other than downtown Nassau. So once the Governor General did that, he was well within the Constitution, and that is a smokescreen argument. It cannot succeed.
Was it even necessary in your
opinion? One of my legal colleagues would say it has a fatal bite. It's a still bite.
It's a still word. The argument was dead on arrival.
That argument is still bited.
So this is how this is what was shared today. The PLP is engaged in an inconstitutional excursion to Bahama. Article 65(1) or the Constitution provides that each session of Parliament shall be held at such place and commence at such time as the Governor General may by proclamation appoint. Right?
Well, that's exactly what the Governor General did that.
And this is on the 6th, but we see that the proclamation from the Governor General was on the 4th. So I don't know why he, and it says that there has not been any new proclamation issued by the Governor General to permit the start of the new session, and the ceremony proposed to be held on the Bahama on the morning of the 6th is a breach of the provisions.
No, that's what he's saying. That would have been true had the Governor General not issued a superseding proclamation, which was done on the 6th of October. I mean, on the 4th of October. So that's why I said that argument is still weighted.
Yep. I want to ask you this, and someone says, Mr. Moultrie, good sir, we need a masterclass podcast or YouTube channel. Thanks in advance from you. Right. So they want to get that, get us a masterclass on the Constitution and on the Westminster system. That's what a young listener is saying. So now let me ask you, Speaker Moultrie, as a former Speaker Moultrie, 54th Speaker of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, we welcome in now another great female, we hope a great speaker, but a female speaker, which adds to history and the law of history with us in our speakers of the House of Assembly. And, listen, I'm with you on the fact that I now, after having experienced the speakership of House in Moultrie, the standard is set on the function of a speaker. But I would ask you, what advice would you give to our new speaker Mrs. Patricia DeVoe, Speaker Patricia DeVoe, if any, in this job, what she would expect, what you have learned?
Well, first of all, let me congratulate Ms. DeVoe on being elected Speaker of the Parliament, the 55th Speaker of Parliament. And also, this is the first time in Bahamian history that the President of the Senate, Ms. Adley, is also a female, and the Speaker of the House is also female. So the two presiding officers of our Parliament are female, and that augurs well for the future. You know, I advocated and I worked along with Zona and Cyril and all of the other women organizations to get greater participation. Actually, we hosted an entire parliamentary session of women in Parliament to try and advance women in the Parliament, to try and meet that agenda that they're trying to get at least 30% of the composition of the Parliament as soon as possible, by 2025 or 2030, I think it is. But they're well on their way now, with the Progressive Liberal Party having 7 elected members of Parliament. But we need greater diversity in the other parties, and to get more women involved. Because once women get involved, you'll have a different perspective. There's no doubt about that. Men look at things a certain way, and by design, that's the way it should be. That's why the Lord put a male and a female together, because that complete the process in terms of not only the reproductive system and the propagation of the human race, but in terms of our thinking, the completeness when male and female come together. So that is very, very important, and I congratulate her. The first advice I would give her, if she'd take any advice from me, would be to understand that the Attorney General is not the lawyer of the legislative branch of government.
Say it again.
The Attorney General is not the legal advisor to the legislative branch of government. The Attorney General is a part of the cabinet, and he is the legal advisor, or she would be, whether it's male or female, to the executive branch of government. And whenever the Attorney General steps over into the jurisdiction of the legislative branch, he is trying to, or she is trying to get an outcome that is favorable to the executive branch. And that defeats the purpose of the legislative branch, which is to hold the executive branch accountable and have them supervised. That is why the executive branch can't even create a budget without getting the approval of the legislative branch. In other words, the money that the executive branch is spending willy-nilly without any checks and balances, it should never happen. We should never have been going into COVID-19, for example, with the Constitution calls for any extension to be brought to Parliament within 14 days, if you want to extend the Governor General proclamation of emergency. Well, the spirit of that provision is that any such extension should be brought back to the People's Parliament for any extension beyond 14 days. But we saw the former government extending the emergency order for 3 months, 6 months, and so on at a time, not coming back to Parliament to have any initiatives debated, and the Prime Minister or the competent authority just waking up out of bed one morning and saying, people can't go to church. The next day he says, you can't have no funeral. Nothing ever being ventilated in the People's Parliament. That should have never happened. And so the former Prime Minister and the Free National Movement might have issues with me because I took the position that what was in the best interest of the country and the institutions of governance, as opposed to what was in the best interest of the party. Because the party agenda has superseded the people's agenda. You know, we didn't have any budget deficits and all this deficit spending until 1953, when parties were formed.
Yep.
For 224 years before parties were formed, the representatives would petition the Parliament on behalf of their constituents And there was no need to give any patronage. There was no nepotism. There
But
was
at
no
the time too, there was very little social interest as well, where most persons were well off, and you didn't feed the slaves. You didn't make sure that there were people taken care of. You weren't interested in extra housing and government. There was not that social need as well to
but this paternalistic. What has happened is that system has degenerated into a paternalistic government.
Indeed.
Where you'll hear the loud applause when the government announced in its speech from the throne today that we're increasing the minimum wage, or we're going to give something to old age pensioners and so on. In other words, once the government is providing and a crutch for you, as opposed to giving you and teaching you how to fish, they're giving you the fish. We will continue to be in this dependency syndrome where we continually look into the foreigners to develop our country for us and to provide jobs for us.
Speaker Moultrie, with time, we're running out of time, but I want to thank you so much for joining me on the show and for always being available as speaker. And hopefully we can continue to glean from you a lot of insight as we carry on and we move forward, because of course, I think that what you presented, what you tried to do and what you did do helped to break a wall between the Bahamian people and the House of Assembly. And it became our house. And there were also some very memorable commentary. And that will always be a part. I actually have video clips that I will not delete. They will be saved in the archives of the Hit Back for sure. And so I want to thank you personally for all of us who appreciate and understand what you were trying to accomplish, that you created and left an indelible impression, I believe, on the Bahamian people on what a speaker, who a speaker is, the power the speaker possesses, and what should be anticipated and expected in a true democracy. And so for that, Speaker Moultrie, you will always be my favorite speaker.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
You know, I still believe that I have a patriotic obligation to continue making contributions and so on, even though I'm back in my law firm now. And life, I know life is a transition. You know, you can't make up your bed in these political positions because, of course, the way our politics is run, a lot of FNMs, for example, suffered because of this presidential approach to our electoral process, where if you dislike the leader, then everybody falls with the leader.
Oh yeah, you all got
we
to
saw
go.
that with the former Prime Minister Christie. We saw it with Sir Lyndon. We saw it with Alexander Ingram. We saw it with Menace. Now, if Davis behaves the same way, we'll also see it with him, because people need to be able to be involved and to participate in the process. And because you won an election where only 40% or less of the people voted, doesn't mean that you control the mandate of the people. You are actually a lame duck government because more persons didn't vote than who supported you. So you have a situation where you had better involve not only the supporters of the PLP, because you'll find very shortly that the majority of those persons who didn't want to test COVID or who just wasn't motivated to vote for the former prime minister and so on, you'll find that they'll be turning on you very, very quickly. So I'm happy. It's like a great ambivalence for me, love and hate. I hate the fact that I didn't have an opportunity to get more accomplished, but I love my freedom now, where I can make a contribution as a Bahamian citizen without having to worry about appeasing a party or even a constituent. Because sometimes in life, you can get more done when your commitments are not compromised by a political agenda.
Former Speaker Moultrie, 54th Speaker of the House of Assembly, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you and look forward to you being back on the Hit Back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Listen, we still got a lot to talk about. Special thanks to former Speaker Moultrie. We've got now a female. We've got not our first, but recent and excited for her, Speaker Patricia Ann DeVoe. And then we also have our President of the Senate, Mrs. Adderley, President Adderley. And so I'm very excited for both of them and for all of us, that are a part of this, what they say, the New Day government. So let's see. Let us see what this New Day government does. Because, boy, there was a lot of promises from the speech at the throne. A lot of promises. We'll be back right after.
Is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. You're listening to the Guardian News Network. I'm Taylor Ferguson. Here's what's making news. Thank you for tuning in. Opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis telling reporters today the ideas outlined in the speech from the throne seemed like a copy of the FNM's proposals. Among the ideas that Dr. Minnis said he hopes are carried out by the Davis administration are universal school lunch program and the after-school program. Those were promised by the FNM on the campaign trail. Minnis says together he believes they can help improve the overall health of young people. National Security Minister Wayne Monroe calling for an end to senseless killings after a father and his teenage daughter were shot Tuesday evening. That father died on the scene. The teenager is hospitalized. The shooting happened on Apache Alley off Kemp Road.
I am encouraging you, I am begging you to stop this nonsense, to get off this path of destruction. Only you can liberate your mind. Only you can make a difference. If you decide not to, the record, the history has shown, you will either become a victim of the street or a victim of the system.
Prime Minister Philip Davis providing an update this afternoon on his discussions with Atlantis executives on employee testing. The resort is holding off on requiring unvaccinated staff to pay for their own COVID tests.
We did indicate to her our desire to put in place pre-testing, which we are still working on the logistics as to how we can get it done. And so that may fall away in respect to the cost to the employee. But we're still working on that, so it'll take some time.
And that's what's making news. I'm Taylor Ferguson. Thank you so much for tuning in. AP News is coming up next.
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished higher, the Dow up 102 points. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky says coronavirus numbers are dropping. She says a big drop in flu cases last year because of masking and distancing could be different this year.
With modest flu virus activity since March of 2020, CDC's flu experts are concerned that reduced population-level immunity to the seasonal flu could place us at risk for a potentially severe flu season this year.
Walensky's message, get your flu shot.
Please do your part to ensure that everyone is best protected against flu by getting vaccinated. CDC recommends flu vaccination for anyone who is 6 months or older.
The City Council in Los Angeles approved one of the nation's strictest vaccine mandates. It will require proof of full vaccination starting November 4th. Some critics say it would amount to segregation of those who cannot or refuse to be vaccinated. I'm Ed Donahue.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Have you heard about the COVID vaccine raffle? If you are vaccinated against COVID-19, you can enter to win amazing prizes like food store gift certificates, hotel stays, beach excursions, and so much more. Even if you are previously vaccinated, you can still enter to win. The COVID vaccine is free, safe, and protects you from severe COVID-19 infections. Don't delay. Get vaccinated today and enter to win. Visit www.vaxbahamas.com to register.
Baja sugar, sugar, let's get sugary. Softer, smoother, and amazing skin. Oh, Baja sugar, sugar, we're the sugar ladies, giving you skin soft as a baby's. Goodbye hair, we'll take good care of you.
Come visit us at Bahar Treat Spa on East Bay Street. Contact us at 323-6711 or visit us online at www.baharetreat.com.
It's a hit back with the hash of black. It's a hit back with the hash of black. It's a hit back with the hash of black. It's a hit back with the hash of black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Today was the day, y'all, the opening of Parliament. The former Speaker of the House said that there was nothing unconstitutional about that sitting in Bahama. The Governor General gave the proclamation. Everything is fine. What was said, and if you listened in the news, someone asked me why they didn't see me with, a fancy hat on the carpet. I have a thing for crowds. I don't do crowds anymore. My crowd spirit over. I don't have a crowd spirit no more. We can get together in groups of 10. I'm okay with that. I don't party in the backyard no more. Actually, I would love a party in the backyard. Who are we kidding? I could really use a party in the backyard. I would really like one. But we digress. This ain't that show. It was good to see now the pageantry is done, right? Parliament is up and over. The speech from the throne was filled with wonderful promises. Ooh, you get increase in wage. You get your VAT cut. No, we're going to make water a natural resource. Forget that. Seniors, NIB is going to take care of you. We had promises galore. We're going to make sure the houses are sorted out. Housing, you get a house. So, what was it? Urban renewal got you. Here's my thing. Under promise, over deliver. I believe in that. Plus, I was still looking for, now that we've done all of this, right? Because then I remember, I told people when on the former administration, they lost me at the speech from the throne because then it didn't even have anything with natural resources or energy. Like, we're not dealing with energy after the worst summer ever under the Christie administration. Then these guys gave us the worst summer ever. I digress. Anyways, all of that leaves me saying, okay, tomorrow is 21 days. 21 days when this administration would have been in office. That 21 days, that's it. That's the end of the honeymoon. That's the end of what we got. All of the things that needed to be done. We got sworn in. We got our ministers. We got our cabinet ministers. The House of Assembly is open. Parliament is back. Now let's get down to business. It isn't the what, it is the how and the when. That's where we are now, We get the what needs to happen. But now we want the how will it happen and the when will it happen. What is the strategic way of ensuring that we don't default? I want to hear ideas from the new Minister of Economic Affairs, right? I want to hear from Mr. Halkitis and find out exactly What is the vision or the plan that they have? How are they going? Are they going to incorporate the National Development Plan in some way to create these entities? So how is it going to work? Investment, Chester Cooper. He was really, we all thought that Chester Cooper was going to be the Minister of Finance. Rather, he's the Minister of Investments and Tourism. This is important to me. I want to see what will be done. There was mentions of really integrating and getting us more into the ownership cycle of tourism. That was something that was also said by the former administration. But now rubber meets the road. This administration said they're going to fully enact the Freedom of Information Act. That, for me, that's a low-hanging fruit. Do that right away. You don't need to set aside months and only do that. You can walk and chew gum. That's something that should be fully enacted. They talked about making the Fiscal Responsibility Act more robust. Well, then let's see that. Let's let it happen right away. So there are low-hanging things that need to be done that can give us a lot of confidence and give you some room whilst you get that strategy on how do we recover. The talk of new hospitals, boosting up healthcare, getting new facilities, providing more resources. Those resources are human resources. What is the plan to find funding to do these things? Because right now, COVID-19 is still ruling our economy. It is still running and determining how we do this. So all of those things matter. And we will be watching it, not just watching, but asking, demanding answers. That is the purpose and the function of the fourth estate. So y'all got to get ready. The readiness is that things must progress and that we as Bahamians have a level of understanding. And this level of understanding is that we understand if you take us on the journey. I've said this proverb many times, or the saying many times. Tell me, I'll forget. Show me, I'll remember. Involve me, and I will understand. What does that mean? It isn't just telling me something, and it isn't just showing me what you can do. It is involving all of us in this journey so that now we take ownership of the process. The Bahamian people need to take ownership of the process. If there's an understanding that, hey, we all need to tighten our belt because this is where we really are. Where we really are is X. And we are trying to get from X, not to Z, but it's the fiscal cliff. But we're trying to roll back ourselves from the fiscal cliff. We're trying not to default. We're trying to, at the same time, increase revenue in these particular areas, diversify, but that will require that we cut back on this thing here. Help us understand that process so that then we buy into the process. So then you say, okay, listen, we need to cut the cost of government expenditure, the recurrent debt. That means that we have to reduce the size of government. How do you reduce the size of government without causing people to end up on the welfare line, which costs the Bahamian people? Well, that is the process. And that is where you lead us and say, okay, well, we have to stimulate small businesses. We need to stimulate the economy in these areas. That is the idea with finance. How do we get Bahamians to own the number one industry called tourism? All right. All of that said, ladies and gentlemen, the government has to come up with these solutions, and we will partner if they involve us in this journey. No one should talk at us. They should speak with us, ask questions, and always be open. That is what these forums are for. So I welcome all government officials to this show. I welcome every Bahamian that wishes to share ideas to the show because I'm always hungry and looking. Why? Because I am a woman that believes in progress. I believe that if you are personally standing on your own 2 feet and you can move forward, it doesn't matter the humble beginnings. I can tell you all as a fact. The tools for success start first in the mind, in believing that it is yours. Faith without works is dead. Just as the body is dead without the spirit, so faith without works is dead also. You've got to know to put in the work. You've got to have a seed in order to produce a harvest. You can't have just talks. You've got to have some ideas. And so that is one of my personal things. My personal thing is, why not business? Why are you out so hard? Because one thing I know no government can take from me is what's in here, right? Nobody can take that from me. Right? You can't take what's in my mind. Now, dementia could come and take what's in my mind, but God has been good so far. Those are tools, seeds. And that is something where I tell everyone as much as I can, mind your own business, literally. I'm not talking about being nosy. I'm talking about sow your seed in where it will grow. Know what your plan is for your life. There are financial opportunities. The Bahamas is not broke. Tourism is not dead. Finances matter. So I've got one of the more brilliant Bahamians joining me. I mean, I just love this woman to pieces. She is someone that I respect highly for, I mean, you know, seriously, she should have about 4 Lamborghinis, 10 cars, but she lives in the Bahamas. And the Bahamas means that, you know, people don't respect your brilliance until later. And so she is now, you know, one of those persons who were finally, her brilliance is always, it has been known, but finally now it is to a place where we are seeing it being even further elevated. She's a woman who has helped me when we were starting out with our vacation rentals. And I wanted to talk about this today. It is a small thing and it's about confidence. It's about, can you start a boutique hotel in the Family Island? What can you do? And that's something that I wanted to pivot to. I want to welcome joining me now, president of the Bahamas Association of Shore Excursions, but also CEO of, mind you, and I have it written down, Hospitality Bahamas. She's gonna tell me what it is. You know, she's the CEO of the wonderful company that I have friends who've used. She's a brilliant, how do you say it, e-commerce guru in terms of channel marketing for your properties or whatnot. And I want to welcome her on the show right now, my good friend, Denise Johnson. Denise, welcome to the Hit Back. And unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Nahaj. I'm happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you on. Denise, what's the name of your company again?
It's called Hospitality Group Limited.
That's it. I was not close, but I was close enough. It's a pleasure to have you on, Denise. You know, you and I, you've been my resource for a while, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you know, as my family continues to embark on how do we become financially free, where I don't believe in job security. Any day, the Guardian could decide they won't fire me. I need to make sure that I can get up in the morning and still pay a bill. That's my life's goal. I want to be able to still live, pay a bill, and financial freedom has always been our mantra. Denise, you are someone in the field of tourism, and not just tourism, but let's talk vacation rentals. That's really what I want to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get the mindset? What does it take to move from I like that idea to actually doing it? What have you seen as some of the challenges with some folks making the move from thinking about it to doing it?
Well, thank you once again, Nahaja, for having me, and thank you to your audience. I think it starts with first knowing who we're speaking to. So in order for someone to be in the vacation rental market, they first have to have a space that they are able to share with their guests or guests coming to the Bahamas. And so knowing that we're talking to persons who have either had an opportunity to invest in a property or have an extra room in their house that they want to rent, because that's also part of the shared space experience, then what we'll say to them is don't try to be perfect. I think the last time I was on your show, my two takeaways was to make sure that people understand that there are two main important things that we must assure that we have when we welcome guests, and that is safety and that's cleanliness. And so you don't have to have a mansion, you don't have to have a 4-star property, you don't have to have, you know, a pool or anything like that. You just have to have a space that you're dedicated to making sure that it's livable and it's presentable. It provides a safe experience for your guests. And in these times, we also have to take in consideration the COVID-19 or the pandemic situation. So I also shared my clients that creating a bubble is also important when you want to invite persons to your property, letting them know that you're creating a safe environment. You are, you know, concerned about their health, You're going to make sure that the vendors that you liaise with, they're also following protocols, safety protocols. So that is the three main things that I would share with anyone who's interested in getting into the market. Now, there are other stages and other steps along the way that we walk them through the process of marketing your property, the potential earnings. So we'll get into that once they decide that they're ready to make the move.
So, one of the main things that I found when starting was we always tend to look at what we don't have, right? And that is, I think that is the mindset from a place where we've always been told, well, you ain't got much. You just got to wait for the foreigner to come and bring it. Whatever you got, it ain't as good as whatever the foreigners come in and bring in country. So it's kind of that low self-esteem of your own value. What is the one thing that because what I've noticed is folks just wanted, like you said, clean, safe, and now with COVID-19, that protective bubble, right? And so for me, that was my thing where you'd be like, well, I don't have a pool, or I live sea breeze. Is my property something that can be put on VRBO, HomeAway is VRBO, Booking.com? Can it be put on Airbnb? What do you say to folks about what type of property can get, rented?
Well, you asked, can their property be used? The short answer is yes. The long answer, however, is, I would want to encourage persons to take pride in themselves. I know there's a narrative that, in certain areas, you wouldn't want guests to travel along those paths or be in those particular communities because of, the stigmas attached to it. It's definitely a concern. However, I think there's a positive impact as well when you have persons who are interested, or even a neighbor who's interested in getting into this market, because then they began to take more pride in their property. They began to landscape their lawns, and stuff like that. So there's also a positive impact from inviting or encouraging persons to get into the vacation rental market.
Someone says transportation access is a good idea as well. And I think that's a great point, because of course you want to be able to move, and it must be in an area where people can get around, access.
Yeah, it speaks to packaging. So, we're here to talk about vacation rentals, but again, to the wider audience, not everybody has the opportunity to rent a space. However, they have an opportunity to get involved in the market as well, because we have something called support services, where we help the vacation rental owner create experiences around their rental and just create a better experience for the guest itself. One of those things that we encourage them to do is to package their rental with transportation, so they're able to rent a car. Or if you don't have a car, you may have a friend or someone that owns a car rental company. So collaboration is key. That way you can kind of control that experience for your guests. And not only that, again, back to the COVID-19 protocols, you can liaise with your partners or your network, and you can decide on just making sure that everybody follows safety protocols, so that there's little to no transmission of the virus in those circumstances. But packaging with transportation, even food companies, restaurant, business food and beverages, tour operators, all of that is very important when it comes to creating that experience and enhancing your product.
Denise, one of the things that you said is that there's more to it, right? And I'm glad you said that, because that is the truth. And that's what I want us to discuss here too. One of the things that I learned whilst we were doing our vacation rental was, when we do this, what we want to do, I think Bahamians is a lot. When we want to do this, we want to make sure that, hey, we create that Bahamian experience. We're not just going to sell the building. We want the sheets to signify something about the Bahamas. We'll get the Bahamian towels. We'll go ahead and get your conch shell and go on. You tend to want to, like for me, we would go and buy coconut Benny. Once nobody was allergic, you would ask that question. The coconut Benny, the Jimmy, the tot, you would create that little bit of treats so that you would have that little platter and experience of the Bahamas. Then we would create relationships with tour companies and say, hey, listen, if we refer them to you, would you give our guests a discount? If we send all of our guests to you, would you be willing to give our guests a discount? And even where you had smaller tour operators, we would say, okay, listen, give me your card and we will put this here, not the major tour companies, but the smaller ones, and put them in the room. I found in this process, Denise, that it really has a great effect on the bigger market of tourism. And so more people should actually be looking at creating those experiences. So your chef, etc. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're exactly right, Nahaja. And, to further incentivize persons who may not be inclined to collaborate, they can even, request some sort of commission. If I send my guest to you, can I, benefit from the commission rate per guest or, something like that. There are some people that looks for the incentive or what profits me to give my business to you. So that's also an option. So you're absolutely right. Not just creating any experience, but creating a Bahamian experience, because the true Bahamian experience or the authentic Bahamian experience truly comes from us and not, the major conglomerate hotels or resorts. It's kind of generic per se, when they're on the cruise ships or in the large hotels, the experience is kind of generic, but the true heart of the Bahamians come from the people itself. And so working with smaller enterprises is very valuable. And so that is definitely something we want to encourage persons to keep getting into the business.
Something else is a thought an experience I wanted to give my guests at one point, but then COVID happened, right? And so I had to get smart and go long-term rental because I didn't know how long it would affect the money.
Funny you should say that, because what we saw happening with the vacation rentals is quite the opposite. Because persons were so concerned about, the spread or, the transference of the virus or catching the virus, they opted to stay in custom or private homes opposed to going and sharing space with hundreds and thousands of people at the larger hotels. So the vacation rental market actually flourished during the lockdowns. You have persons coming in on their boat, they couldn't stay at the hotel or they needed to quarantine. So where you may have had someone staying for a weekend, you now have a person staying for a week or 2 weeks because, they have to stay quarantined for 5 days, then they go out. So we saw longer stays and we saw an increase in vacation rental bookings.
Oh, I love that. And that's what I thought of, not during the pandemic itself. I think the second wave, I wasn't even thinking of it. When I thought of it, when we coming to the third, and now you're seeing the airport starting to open and we're opening the borders and etc. And I thought to myself, boy, I would rather stay in a vacation rental and not a hotel. To be a vacation renter must be a booming time for sure. And plus the longer stays. When we come back, I want to ask you, Denise, because, we have so much to discuss here. Some of the tips and tricks to successful bookings. We've learned a few, and I want to get from you, what are some of the successful tips and tricks? And then also, where do you see vacancies for third-party operators in this space, right? So where do you see opportunities for other people to jump in, even if you don't have the home to use as a vacation rental tool? So we're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's Wednesday. We're going to start again our Wealthy Wednesday series. It is about our success. Trust me, living your best life means you ain't broke. We can't be broke. We got to multiply our assets. We will be back right after this. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
Attention all students in grade 4 to 12. Do you think you know about money? Well, the Central Bank of the Bahamas is giving you a chance to prove it and win cash in the 2021 Get Money Smart Bahamas Video Essay Competition. Can you tell us why you think the Bahamian economy is an ideal model for digital financial services? If you can, just produce a short video submission before October 22nd and show us you are money smart. Cash prizes will be given in various age categories, but you must get your parents' permission to enter. For more information, visit www.getmoneysmartbahamas.com or see our post on social media.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Other than skin cancer, breast cancer is the most common cancer in women. Breast cancer is also the second leading cause of cancer death in women, after lung cancer. Can you help? Yes, you can. You can encourage women to take steps to help lower their risk of developing breast cancer and help find it early when it might be easy to treat. You can also help connect women facing breast cancer to patient programs and services they might need throughout their treatment. We encourage you to share these messages during Breast Cancer Awareness Month and throughout the year. 2021 has been a powerful reminder that we are all in this together, and our choices and actions have the power to protect the most vulnerable among us in a big way. By working together, we can inspire hope and become a force for good and help create greater awareness during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. To participate in our upcoming supplement, be sure to contact Guardian Media's advertising department today or your account executive.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's the hit back with the hash of black. It's the hit back with the hash of black. It's the hit back with the hash of black. It's the hit back with the hash of black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I want to say a special hello to everyone who's tuning in online, in your car. Wanted to really just encourage you. One of the things that is important to me, and I hope to you, financial freedom. All right, yes, we're discussing vacation rentals. That's, of course, if you have a certain asset called a home, rental property, that would require such. But there are other areas and avenues by which you can participate in your tourist product. You are a part of the product. And I hope, and we've been seeing it. That's why I loved Crystal Cruises so much, because they were interested in the Bahamian product on every island they went to, the authentic Bahamian experience. And I think it's important that we become very much the Bahamian experience. I want to welcome my guest, Denise Johnson, CEO of Hospitality Group Limited. She is also the newly minted president of the Bahamas Association of Shore Excursions. Did I say that right? Is that that's the correct name?
Shore Experiences.
Shore Experiences. And you are the woman for Shore Experiences. I'll tell you that. That's why we're doing the show today. Let me ask you, Denise, on the vacation rental side again, because you really helped me with tips and ideas, even of pricing and what is a good idea. One of the things that you shared with me off the bat was that we as a whole, as a unit, many Bahamians undervalue their property, right? So we set the floor so low, a lot of people don't even count the cost. Like BPL is expensive. Cleaning is expensive. Water is expensive. And we're pricing ourselves and cutting straight into all of that. And really throwing yourselves a wrench. What are some of the things that if you could give a top 5 tips that you would to help people get into this thing? What would be your 5 tips for successfully marketing and having a successful vacation rental?
Well, you touched on one of them, which is don't undervalue yourself or your product. Do not do that. As a matter of fact, one of the recommendations we are giving to our out island properties on another board I'm on is to not lower your prices. People are still coming to Bahamas. They are not questioning prices. So do not lower your prices. And one of the ways to make sure that it's priced adequately, we do something called rate structuring, is to identify all of the services that you add along or you tack along with this the product, which is the cleaning, which is the utilities and all of that stuff. In the case of small boutique hotels, they may have some levy fees, or they may have resort fees or pool fees or stuff like that. So make sure they're priced separate. And it's a reason why they need to be priced separate, and we can get into that on another call. But if you price them separate, then they wouldn't be taxed, and make sure they wouldn't be taxed with the room rate. So there are little tips like that. So do not underprice yourself. That's one thing. The second thing I think would be market your property, right? If you have one room and you are on a platform or you have a network where the one room can see, let's say, 80 to 90% occupancy rate year round, then marketing on social media platforms, websites, or other distribution channels may not be necessary. But if you have a property where you have multiple rooms, where we consider them to be small hotels, anything like 5 rooms or above, then using the resources of distribution channels like Expedia, like Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, there are hundreds and thousands of them. So you should take the opportunity to partner with these people, because your occupancy rates will go up based on the bulk of business, right? But what we see also, Bahamians, well, I don't want to necessarily say Bahamians, but what I've seen in this industry is that our lodging partners feel a way about offering commissions to third-party companies that assist with marketing, right? But I would.
Hold on, wait, I understand. So they would. So you're saying, like a company like yours, they would have a problem using a company like yours or using a website? Like, what do you mean? Feel a certain way?
Not necessarily a company like mine, because my services speak for themselves. But like working along with a travel agent per se. So travel agent commissions can range from 15% upward to 30%.
Jesus.
So, that's what we call indirect bookings. So there are techniques that we use. We help our clients to generate more direct bookings, but there are indirect bookings, and we can't do away with them. These travel agents and these third-party distribution channels are here to stay. So,
like Airbnb. Third-party distribution channels are Airbnb, VRBO, etc.
Yes. And so those rates can range anywhere from 10% to 30%. But it's based on the bulk of business or where you see your market. Now, Airbnb has done such a tremendous job with their branding strategy that they were able to generate a lot of interest in our local market in the Bahamas. And so persons just use that one platform. However, COVID, unforeseen circumstances like COVID, showed us that we need to be on multiple platforms so that when one platform doesn't work, we have another platform. And so working with multiple channels is important. And as a matter of fact, they have technology that can stream or can sync their calendars so that you don't have an overbooking situation going on. So that's important. Marketing your property, not undervaluing your product. That's another tip. Collaboration, I would say, collaborating with third-party vendors to enhance your experience. All of the products or all of the service that you're unable to provide, like a rental car company, or even you may not have a restaurant on your property. You might be a one room, not like a small hotel who may have a restaurant on their property where the guests can get food services. So collaborating with persons so that you can provide a total experience for your clients. Keeping in contact with your guests, so remarketing or retargeting efforts, keep in contact with your guests to create a loyalty program per se. So we have these terminologies in the larger hotels or resorts, but they also apply to you if you're serious about getting or making this a business, right? And I think that is what you are trying to encourage your audience to do, especially with what happened in 2020 with the pandemic. We see that at any moment, these larger properties or these large hotels or these enterprises can shut down, crash, send you home, furlough you. And what do you have after that? And so we need to take our income serious and make sure that we have multiple streams. And so what that means is not just seeing these opportunities as just another stream of revenue, but taking it serious as a business. And when you take that serious as a business, you realize things like marketing, things like technology, client loyalty programs, customer relations, reputation management, all of these things are important if you want to make it a business, right? And so that is another thing that I would recommend, which is creating loyalty programs and incentives for your clients. And by doing that, they will begin to be your marketing tool, because they will start to refer guests to you and tell people about you and increase your productivity through those means. So that's also important. Okay, that's 4, Nahaja. I don't know. Okay, all right. There's so much other things that I would recommend in terms of making it a business, but you have to start somewhere. Safety is important. Health is important. No one's traveling right now if you can't guarantee them a safe environment. No one is traveling under those pretense. It may mean that you can say, everyone at my property manager, in the case of a vacation rental, my property manager, in the case of a small hotel, my employees are all, my staff are all vaccinated. I know that's a personal conversation, but it's something to think about. Or we follow these certain protocols and we do testing on a regular basis. So you want to consider those things as well, so that the customer or the guest feels safe when they're coming to your property, right? So that's another tip I would give to persons who want to get in the vacation rental market. And outside of the vacation rental market, let's break down or define what is a vacation rental. So a vacation rental can be a room, it can be an apartment, a condo, but it can also be a boat. It can be a tree house, it can be a lodge. So anywhere that you have a living space, secure living space, can be considered a vacation rental. So it's not defined by a house or a room or condo or apartment or anything like that. It's just somewhere where, that persons can lodge and they are safe, and so if you have a boat that's or a yacht or that has a living space, you can rent that out as well, right? So we want to make sure that we are incorporating and inclusive of everyone that has some sort of lodging product to offer. So
what about the domes? If it was one of them domes in Abaco, I could rent that. Can I rent that?
Yes, Nahaja. Yes. Yes, you can. It creates an experience. So everything is experience these days. You hear that word all the time, experience. So it creates experience. People may feel like, I want to experience what, the victims of this tragedy has experienced. I want to be close to them. I want to share in their, their sadness, their despair, let them know that I'm here with them. So there are people who would do that. So, it's very fluid, I would say.
We got Denise Johnson joining us, president now of the Bahamas Association of Shore Experiences. Someone says a dome near the beach. I'm telling you, this is actually, listen, that is, I was not jesting. People will do that. You can get trailers, the big containers, and you can make a container home. You can make a tiny home and make it very picturesque. Spend, your $50,000 and do your clapboard house. People want the Bahamian experience. So Denise Johnson, president of the Bahamas Association of Shore Experiences, and also CEO of Bahamas Hospitality Group of the Bahamas Hospitality Group Limited. I've given you a whole association for your company, who has been a great advisor for me with regard to vacation rentals in the Bahamas. I want to pivot before, I know time is running out. Denise, let's talk about some of those opportunities that surround it, right? So these experiences for persons who are, they may not have a home, but and I have to say this, one of the things I think is the greatest blessing of being able to do a vacation rental is to engage as the owner of the property all of these other Bahamian small businesses. So the Bahamian baker for the treats, the corner artist you see on the side of the road, and or the young lady who's kayaking at the boat fishing on. Just say, hey, listen, I'm going to send my people to you, versus them going out to the big dive places. It is just that is such a joy. You get whoever the mama who could cook. You say, listen, I need you to be my chef for the day. Can you be my chef for the day for my guests? So what are some of the other opportunities, Denise, that can be considered experiences, and tell folks about how those experiences can land on some of these third-party applications?
You took my thoughts right out of my head, Nahaja. You sound like the expert now because you covered a lot. So things like the neighbor who can cook, and you create an experience for your guests where they have an authentic Bahamian meal. That's possible. Persons who the bakers, over the pandemic, there were a lot of people popping up with small businesses like baking and stuff like that. And so you want to be able to engage those persons as well. They can offer those types of stuff that we spoke about earlier about the car rental businesses. A lot of car rental businesses popped up over the pandemic as well. And so that's also an opportunity. And then another market kind of flourished over the pandemic that I kind of love too, which is the excursions. Those boat excursions, you go to the private keys and you have a day on the beach and you swim with the turtles. Those were great. They were awesome. And so engaging with persons like that just to offer that unique, and you still get to keep that safe space or that bubble for your guests, because they go out in the water, they have the experiences, them and the boat captain, and they have their own experience and they come back in. And so things like that is definitely something that I would encourage any vacation rental owner to engage our local talent, empower them. But in the event that you may not know how to reach out to vacation rental owners or even become, like, there are ways you can do it, and I'll speak to that on the next slide, which is joining certain associations and establishments as an allied member, right? But apart from that, there are platforms like Airbnb that have, and Expedia, that promote TripAdvisor as well, that promote experiences. So you can put your experience on the platform, and then your visitor or your guest can pair it with your experience with the vacation rental. So you don't necessarily have to know an owner, but if you're on the same platform, they get to package that experience because you're there. You also have the option of offering digital experiences. So that's another niche that kind of flourished over the pandemic as well, where, for example, I may want to share or teach visitors or travelers or foreigners how we cook as Bahamian. And so I pay just to come into your room and experience that opportunity. So you don't necessarily have to share that service in person, but you can also offer that as a digital experience as well. So other than that, there is also opportunities to join our association. So this is the first time I'm publicly announcing that I am the president of the BASE Association, Bahamas Association of Shore Experiences. But I'm here in the capacity as a friend of the show, just to share and give nuggets on vacation rentals. However, we want to invite those of you who may be allied members, who may have services, who may want to be allied members and have services that can pair with these vacation rentals, to, reach out to our association and either become a member or, just get information on how you can partner with vacation rental owners or other tourism entrepreneurs in pairing with their products, right? So not just BASE, but we also have the Rhode Island Promotion Boards. We have PHTA, which I'm a director on the board as well. So all of these organizations, that's called networking. So you have to have strong networking strategies as well. Once you are a member of these boards, then you have direct access to owners, operators, managers, VPs, and then you can start to strategize how you can partner and benefit from this partnership.
Yeah, so many nails on the head with that, and sharing that information that you just did. Denise Johnson here joining us. The importance of versatility. So like what I want, Denise, just to make sure people get it, is that the tourism industry now, this number one industry, is, I'm learning, is no longer out of our reach anymore. We now can be a part of this experience, and it's just being yourself. How important is it just being Bahamian to the tourism product? Because I really want people to get that. And someone wants to know, they'd like to become a member of your network, of the association. How do they do that? But quickly, just give people an idea of what foreigners are looking for, visitors to the country are looking for as a tourism product, the Bahamas.
Okay, so the idea or the definition of tourism itself is sharing a local or cultural experience across borders. So when people travel, they travel because they want to.
Oh man, we lost Denise just now. So hopefully we'll get her back in a few minutes. Hopefully we'll get her back.
Can you see me?
Okay, let's see. Is it Denise that was lost, or did I lose me? We'll find out in a minute. Okay, so with all of that said, and I got to make sure that it is just, it isn't me. So how do we move forward with this, right? All that has been done, and I have so many tips and tricks on this thing, and hopefully we'll get Denise back very shortly. This is some of the things that I want to share before we go. Tips that we can use. Okay, you can hear both of us now. All right, let's see. Are you back, Denise? There you are.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, where was I?
We just started really on what is this Bahamian, how do we, realize what is the Bahamian experience, right?
Right. So people travel to experience authentic Bahamian products, services, and experiences. So that alone tells you that you don't have to, go to extra training or courses. You just have to be authentically yourself. That's what they come for. That's what they remember. That's what they carry when they go, the culture, and everything that is who we are. So you just have to be yourself. And like I said at the beginning of the show, just provide a safe and clean environment. And that's what they come for. If they want a lot of the same, they can stay where they are, But I think it's important that we do not offer generic experiences so we don't get our identity doesn't get lost in transaction. Tourism has become quite a transactional process or industry. And what I don't want is for us to lose our authenticity and who we are, because at the end of the day, we are Bahamian. We want, to make sure that globally we're represented, we're recognized, and people continue to come for what it is we have to offer here. So that is very important. Otherwise, they can go in a large hotel. They can stay on the cruise ships. They don't have to come off the cruise ships. When they come off the cruise ships, they come for something different. There's nothing really on the that is not on the cruise ship, that doesn't lend to a good vacation experience. So when they come off to see what the Bahamians have to offer. And so I'm always happy when they can get that authentic experience, see our products, see our artisans, and not have so much of the same from port to port,
Yeah, so many parts of that, the nail on the head there. Denise, let folks know how they can reach you and how they can become a part of. Someone says, I'd like to become a member of the network. How do I join?
Okay, you can reach out to myself, Denise, at hospitalitygroupltd.com, and I can put you in contact with my administrators. Yeah, I don't have the phone contact right now, but you can call my business phone. That's 823-4457, and I can put you in contact with the administrators who will be able to assist you. I'll come on the next show, Nahaja, once we make the formal announcement, and then we can speak more on that organization. But it's going to be, we're hitting the ground running. Just as a precursor, we're hitting the ground running. I have 12 months to make an impactful change in tourism, and I'm ready to go.
Thank you. Denise Johnson, friend of the show. And, and I like Monique. She on this boy. 4557. That number's right.
4457.
4457. 823-4457. That's how you reach Miss Johnson. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Denise. You're the best.
Thank you.
All right. So listen, it's when I tell you, when you start to see that little bit of cash start coming in and you didn't have to work that hard, right? The biggest things are some of the challenges that we faced was at the beginning, just making sure that we got the timing right after someone left to get them another person in, right? And get another person in. And when I tell you, we placed it online on Sunday night, we had our first booking. And it just kept going. We were living in that 85% booking, and we didn't have a pool, right? So when I tell you it's amazing, it's great, it's something you should definitely not be afraid of when we're talking about it. Some tips and tricks that helped us. When you're doing Airbnb, one of the things that we learned quickly is you want to be a super host, right? Airbnb, once you go on a platform, they give you your first few weeks to be on the front page, right? So you have a small window, right, to gain attention and get bookings. I think you have about 2 weeks. And I wish Denise was still here and I would have asked her to confirm that, but it gave me about 2 weeks or so. And one of the techniques is you want to become a super host. Now with Airbnb, 3 months, they do it in quarters, right? So you have 3 months to become a super host if you catch the quarter. Now, if you show up in like mid-March, you're not going to make that first quarter. You got to wait till the other quarter, right? But you have to get about 10 positive ratings, 4.5 and above. Once you get that, you become a super host. Super hosts now stay special. What's the technique to do it? What my husband and I did was we went underrated. We went under. We said we're brand new. We got no stars. What our technique was that we went again and said, okay, we're going to lower our price. We're going to lower our price, figure out what the comps are, and find out what's that sweet spot so that people will choose us. The place had to be clean, had to be safe. And then we went the extra mile at the beginning. Things that we didn't realize. Now, again, I gave a super host real quick. We got great reviews, but the small things we missed. I remember the first time we did it, we forgot to put soap in the place. That was the comment. But at least the guests loved us. And so we remembered soap. Remember soap, remember tissue, put extra toothbrush in there, and it's easy. It's easy money once you get into the swing of things. And I tell you, then you had the experiences, and my guests wanted to eat Bahamian food at home. So these are opportunities, man. The tourism thing, actually, it just made us far more. Someone says, I actually saw outdoor tents on rental. Yes, tents are open. Just put some string lights over them things and put some palm trees. Do it right by the coconut trees in the back of your yard. You'd be surprised what people would want. Everyone have a great day. The goal is that we get successful and we do it minding our business, taking care of your own financial success. Study, learn, read. We will be back tomorrow. Dr. Gilbert Morris joins us. We will be back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM.